Allen Iverson, who I've had a lot of time spent with him. I like him as a human being. I think he's a really stand-up guy. I think he lets too many people be around him. I think he can't say no. It's really hard for him to say no. And I think sometimes, in that when you're that type of person, sometimes the wrong people around you. So he's got that. But what he doesn't have is financial issues, right? Because of that Reebok. So he's got a Reebok payday that's going to be $32 million, I think, when he turns 50, 51. But he's also, which I didn't know, he is getting money every year. I think it's $800,000 a year from the Reebok parent company for a deal that was done after ABG acquired the athletic wear company in 2022. This also helped. It's the 55th birthday. I'm sorry. 55th birthday is when he gets the $32 million payout, but he's also getting $800,000 a year. Somebody looked out for him.
Yes. I love that story. I remember seeing it kind of towards the end of his career, because I think he came back and he retired with Philadelphia, and they talked about, he had some issues prior, or he owed some jewelry and some other different things. They were talking about his financial issues. But they also talked about his agent. And one of the reasons he signed with Reebok was because they were going to put that money in an account. And I thought it was, 40 million, something, 32 million, like you said. And they put it aside for him. And that person had the insight. They had the vision of saying, look, he's one of the cultural phenomenons. We can't let Allen Iverson go broke. Because you have to. Allen Iverson is one of the most important athletes in the history of the game. Because Allen Iverson changed the way that you looked at basketball. Iverson was the direct you looked at Allen Iverson and you saw every kid that went to your high school. He did everything opposite. He said, I'm gonna wear jerseys. He wore baggy clothes. He listened to rap music. He had the long chain. He had the braids. And for me, the braids was the most iconic thing, because when you growing up, they tell you can't. Your hair as an African-American, way back when, right? They tell you no dreadlocks, no combos. You got to straighten your hair if you're a Black female. You can't have all those things come with negative connotations if you want to be known as a professional person that's going to move somewhere. It was a thing where that wasn't even marketable. Even you look at the athletes before, Michael Jordan was very clean cut. Michael Jordan never really said too much. Historically,
let me just, because I feel like the more I'm looking at the NFL and I'm reading this book by Dr. Daniel Black, called The Coming, which is putting me in a headspace that I probably need to be in. Really angry, but I feel like the NFL grooms you to be docile. I feel like college football grooms our young men to accept this oppression. I feel like high school football, Pop Warner, they groom you from a little tyke to take master's instructions, and it carries through, right? So even what Allen was like, nah, in David Stern, rest in whatever, wanted to institute a rule on how to dress, as everything's about controlling these Black bodies. It is. And Allen was like, nah.
And I'm going for that. And he did it at the highest level. There's a thing that you mentioned here where you talk about there's a direct correlation in the way they treat you as an athlete. Right now, there's name, image, and likeness that just came into the forefront. Now, one of the first shows I did was saying I equated the fact that they didn't want Black athletes to get money. I equated that to, I said, it's not slavery, but it's sure sharecropping. I mean, if you want to look at it from a standpoint, and I would always pose the question, they would all say, you're an amateur. Those kids don't know, they're going to waste that money. They're ruining the sport. I said, how is it ruining the sport? You getting $10 million to coach. And if education was all that it took, well, why don't the coach work for the education? Does he have a master's degree? How about you coach for your master's degree? We'll let your kids come to school for free and they would look at you like you're crazy. But they tell us, you don't understand. You're not supposed to want money. You're not supposed to name, image, and likeness. We control all of that. And I had to ask myself, I said, why is it that people feel that a white soccer player, a white basketball player in Europe, or any of those individual tennis players, why is a 14-year-old, 15-year-old white tennis player more equipped to handle money, but a 19, 20, and 21-year-old black man, he don't know what he's supposed to do with the money? They can make all the money they want.
The worst thing is your university's making billions off of that black kid. So if he wanted to spend every dime of that money, why is it your concern? Why can't he get a tenth of the money that you're making off of his body?
Well, Karen, capitalism is great. It just seems capitalism is good for everybody that look like me. Capitalism runs. We like the laissez-faire, the invisible hand. We don't want no taxes on nobody. Listen, we want you to be able to, spend. Small business owners have a right to make we do all of that. But the second we talk about enterprise and capitalizing off your God-given ability, there's 5 to 6 people standing in line that got to get paid before you see a payday. 5 to 6.
Garrett Bush is here. G Bush 91. What's the 91 for?
91 is the football number. So, that 91 is a football number. My number in high school was 71. So, I took the 91 and it was cool because the 91 is a football number, but 91 is like the first year I kind of like woke up. I was like, man, like 91, everybody had Malcolm X hats on back in 91.
Okay.
They had the African college
medallions.
all that.
Yes.
So 91 was the first day I woke up and was like,
Public of Chuck D and was out. Yeah. Yes.
I was when Fight the Power came out and I see them doing stepping in all the black. I said, but they got uniforms on. I was confused. I said, but it looks like a military. I know that ain't the United States military. And shout out to my dad. He went to HBCU too. So he went to, that's when it kind of woke up and I'm like, that is the exact opposite of what I lived. Cause I went to majority all white schools. So it was like, that was where I was getting my first education. That was those videos.